Once upon a time, the maps of the world told a different story. If you opened a globe from the 1500s, the 1600s, or even the late 1700s, you would find a massive empire stretching from the borders of Europe to the Pacific Ocean. Its name was Grand Tartary, an empire so vast it dwarfed Russia, spanned Asia, and reached into lands that no modern textbook dares to name. And yet, one day, it was gone. No war remembered, no collapse recorded, just silence. The name was erased, not faded, but deliberately removed, as if someone decided that the civilization should never have existed at all. The empire that vanished. For centuries, European cartographers drew Tartaria with confidence. French maps, Dutch maps, German atlases, all showing a colossal realm. Independent Tartary, Chinese Tartary, Russian Tartary. These weren't mythic sketches or sailors' tales. They were the official records of the world as scholars knew it. And then, sometime in the 1800s, the empire vanished from the page. Not gradually, but instantly, replaced by borders, kingdoms, and nations we now call familiar. What happened to Grand Tartary? Was it absorbed by conquest, or was it erased by design? The silence of the cartographers. The early 19th century was an age of rewriting, the age of empires and industrial revolutions. Old maps became inconvenient, old truths dangerous. The great blank spaces of history began to fill with civilized names, while others were quietly crossed out. Tartaria's disappearance coincided with a new narrative of progress, one that began in Europe and ended with the West as the pinnacle of civilization. Anything that challenged that story had to be forgotten. The cities that shouldn't exist. Then came the architecture, silent, immovable evidence carved in stone. From Chicago to St. Petersburg, from San Francisco to Paris. Grand domes, columns, and marble symmetry appeared overnight. Structures that defied their own time. Who built them? How were they constructed so quickly, so perfectly in an age of steam and candlelight? At the Chicago World's Fair of 1893, called the White City, engineers claim to have built over 200 neoclassical buildings in just 2 years. 2 years. Each one as intricate as an ancient temple. And yet, when the fair ended, every building was destroyed. Every column, every dome, every trace. Officially, they were temporary. But who destroys perfection? Who erases beauty that fast? Some say they were not built at all, but uncovered. Renovated remnants of an older civilization, then demolished to hide the evidence. The great mud flood walk through the old quarters of any city built before 1900. Look down. Windows buried beneath the street. Doors that open to the earth. Entire floors swallowed by soil. Tartarian researchers call it the Great Mud Flood, a cataclysmic event in the 1800s that buried cities across the world. According to this theory, the flood didn't just destroy, it concealed. The old Tartarian world was buried beneath a new one. Mainstream historians call it urban development. Roads were raised, they say. Cities rebuilt. But how do you explain buried windows that stretch across continents, all from the same century? Echoes beneath our feet. In Seattle, the famous underground reveals entire streets beneath the modern city. In New York, subways cut through old brick vaults that predate official blueprints. In Europe, cathedrals rise from what used to be second stories. Everywhere, the same mystery repeats. A buried past, a forgotten layer of history just beneath the ground we walk. The hidden architects. These cities share a language, symmetry, proportion, resonance, a design philosophy based on sacred geometry and harmonic balance. It's as if their architects saw the world not as a collection of buildings, but as a living instrument, tuned to the frequencies of the Earth itself. Theorists claim that Tartarian engineers mastered resonant technology, the science of sound and vibration, stone that sings, metal that hums, energy drawn not from fuel but from frequency. Crazy? Perhaps. But modern science has proven that sound can move matter, levitate objects, and reshape materials at the molecular level. Maybe the ancient builders knew what we forgot, that the world itself vibrates with power. The star forts. Across continents, a peculiar geometry repeats: five-pointed fortresses shaped like stars, their walls forming perfect mathematical angles. Historians say they were designed for cannon defense, but their precision seems different. Too symmetrical, too aligned with magnetic fields, too intentional. Were these forts weapons or conduits of energy? Perhaps the Tartarians understood geometry not just as design but as language, the same universal pattern found in crystals, flowers, and galaxies. The giants of the old world step into an old cathedral. Look at the doors, 12 feet high. The stairs too tall for human stride. Ceilings vast enough to dwarf an army. Were they built for people like us? In the 1800s, newspapers across America reported the discovery of giant skeletons, 7, 8, even 9 feet tall. Many were collected by museums and then vanished. The Smithsonian, once said to house these remains, has none today. All gone. Coincidence or censorship? The Great Reset fires, floods, wars. Between 1850 and 1918, the world burned. Chicago, San Francisco, Europe, Asia. Cities destroyed and rebuilt again and again. Tartaria's theorists see a pattern: the deliberate erasure of the old world, the Great Reset. Each catastrophe a cleansing, each reconstruction a rewriting of memory. The empty photographs. Look at 19th century city photographs. Grand boulevards, marble palaces, and yet, no people. The streets are empty, silent. Some say it was due to long exposure times. Moving subjects simply didn't appear. But across hundreds of photos, across continents, it feels as if the cities were waiting, vast sets built for a world that had just disappeared. The empire beneath memory. So what was Tartaria? An empire erased? A metaphor for civilizations humanity forgot to honor? Or a mirror reflecting our deepest fear that progress is built on the bones of the forgotten? Every empire rewrites its history. Rome did. So did Egypt. Perhaps Tartaria was not the first to vanish, only the last to be remembered. Its architecture remains like fingerprints on marble. Its symmetry whispers through old halls. Its silence louder than its story. The ghost of civilization, maybe Tartaria, never fell. Maybe it transformed from a physical empire into a myth that haunts us still. A warning, a reminder that truth is fragile, and that sometimes entire worlds disappear not because they are destroyed, but because they are erased. As the camera fades, a final line echoes. Some civilizations die once, others die every time we forget them.
Subscribe to watch the next episode.